What is up, everyone? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're listening to the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 3, Episode 8. And the title of the episode was Sacrifice. And I have the Koalition team here with me. This was an amazing episode. Like, wow, the way it ended, wow. Like, what can I say? Like, this is going to be a good episode. We're going to have a lot to say about this. But yeah, I am here with Mr. Richard Bailey Jr., aka Treatment Technician. How are you, Richard?
Doing pretty good, Gary. I was on the phone with Saxe telling him that his brother, he's been lying about the treatment. So obviously they didn't have enough money in the budget for me to appear on camera, but here I am to talk about what I did in the episode today.
Oh, I hope they get that budget right. I've been hearing about strikes and stuff, so they need to get that right. But
Yes, yeah.
but yeah, we are also joined by Miss Dana Abercrombie, aka Rico. If you're nasty case.
The case is coming together, and if you're nasty, we're ready for you.
Got that Rico together. but but yeah, and I am Immortal Sax, as you see my name on. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see all of our nicknames. I'm Immortal Sax. It's been a running joke on this show that Sax will never die. Well, today I'm sad to say, but it happened. Sax he's finally no more. Like, well, I never thought I'd see this day. Like, this guy's been around since like season 1 of Power, and he's like, he always survives. He's like a cockroach. He's always living until today. So yeah, that's a major. It's a big deal. Like, we're gonna have some major conversation about Sax and his role in the show and how it's come to an end and everything like that. So yeah, there's going to be lots to say. But before we get to our takeaways, friendly reminder to the people, please do leave your comments. Let us know what you think down below in the comments, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from everyone. Please do hit the like button if you enjoy, listening to the discussion and everything. And also hit the subscribe button and the bell to get notified when a new video goes live. And also check out the Koalition Entertainment and the Koalition Gaming. But yeah, so that's the house cleaning out the way. Let's get right to the discussion, because I know everybody wants to hear what we got to say about this one. So yeah, we're going to go to Richard first this week for his takeaways. So Rich, when you're ready, let us know your takeaways.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, let me say I thought this was a great episode of Power. I didn't have any critiques. I know I had some critiques last week, and I did see some of the comments. And yeah, I understand, and I'm glad everybody is able to have an opinion on the show. But this episode, by far, a much better episode, an excellent episode. I do have two main takeaways I want to talk about today, but I also have a few other quick things I will mention as well. So going right into the takeaways, obviously, as Gary already mentioned, his name is Immortal Sax. So we have to talk about what happened with Sax in this episode. And the reason why I enjoyed the episode, it's not so much that the character died, it's more so of how they set this whole thing up from the very beginning. There was a lot of foreshadowing, obviously, to tell Sax to be careful. And obviously, it led to this end result of him being taken out. But the surprise is in who took him out. And that was what I did not expect. So let me just start off by saying, yeah, the storyline starts out. We do see when the episode starts that Davis he's a little wasted, obviously, because he did get Theo out last week. And Theo told him, because he knew he did something illegal to get him out, he didn't want to have anything to do with him. He didn't want to talk to him. So obviously, Davis is not taking that news well. And this is when Sax comes in to try to console him. And at this point, Sax obviously needs to get some information for Jenny and Blanco because he is the CI. So you understand why he's basically trying to get on Davis's good side so he can use it to his advantage later. Now, what ends up happening is, to go from what happened last week, Diana, obviously she was arrested. We saw that she's taken into custody, and basically Monet calls Davis to ask for him to tell him to get down to the precinct to represent as her attorney. And obviously Davis is a little wasted, so he tells Saxe, all right, Saxe, you can go in and do that. Now, right after he tells Saxe that information, this is when, he basically starts talking to Tariq, and Tariq pays him a visit and tells him Saxe is a rat. He knows what's been happening. There's a Rico investigation going on that we're all involved in. And obviously, and let me just say this. Now, I laugh when Davis found out. I did laugh at that scene, because it's like Davis all of a sudden, he pulled out that gun like he was going to go kill Saxe. I mean, I thought that was pretty hilarious, because this is the reaction. Like all of a sudden, Davis is a lawyer. He has to be professional. But all of a sudden now he's ghetto, straight up, get the gun and let me go take this guy out. I thought that was hilarious, but that's excellent. Method Man, excellent job acting for sure. But obviously, Tariq reminds him, you can't go about it that way because we're all being watched carefully. And then from there, as the episode expands, you see that he basically does go to the precinct, and he is able to get there in time where him and Saxe have to go in and question Diana. And of course, he makes sure that Saxe doesn't get any information, but he also does give Diana that note, basically saying, make sure you tell him that Effie was involved, that Effie put all this on Effie. And of course, I'll get into that in a little bit, but pretty much Saxe does this information. They decide to go look into what's happening with Effie. And as we see, what happens with Effie is that pretty much when they try to pick her up with the whole setup that they did, they find out that it's sugar, and it's not product. She did have the cups, but there was sugar in the warehouse. So that was a very good plan, I would say. But obviously Jenny is not happy with Saxe after that. And of course she tells him, oh, you can't be protected anymore, all this other stuff. She actually thinks that he was involved in all of this. He's a part of this Rico investigation, so on and so forth. So again, at this point in the episode, something is going to happen to Saxe, because they will tell you over and over again, are you sure you want to do this? Once you do this, you're going to be exposed. And he's like, yep. But again, the surprise factor is in how they tied it to Theo Rollins, because this is a character. And obviously, we've already said on this show, we didn't like that Redman he's not playing the same role that he was. He's no longer part of the show, which is unfortunate. But with Theo Rollins, I like how they tied it together, because again, this is a guy that was telling Saxe the whole time, as well as he was telling him that he was getting a whole bunch of treatment done, that the experimental treatments were working. He was telling his brother that he went to an appointment, so on and so forth, and lying this entire time. So basically, he does tell him when he has Saxe out at gunpoint, I only got a month left. So really, he has no reason to live. But yet, Davis made the mistake of telling him that, oh yeah, Saxe is working with the feds, and then that's pretty much why he's the one that decides, well, I'm going to clean up this mess that you created. And so he shoots and kills Saxe, and then shoots and kills himself. Now there was a lot going on in that scene. I looked at the reaction that Tariq had on his face after this. That was like, wow, just pure shock. And of course, Davis, Method Man, with the very dramatic acting. No, yes, it's a horrible outcome, but it made for a very good story being told, because they tied everything up together, and the whole fact that Saxe helped Davis to try to get Theo out, and this is the favor that got returned. So the one last thing I will say about Saxe, though, and this is something I guess that we need to pay attention to, when Saxe figures out that he's been made, he does send Tariq a message. It says, if something happens to me, you will never find out where Tasha and Yaz are at. So very interesting message. We have to see where they're going with that. But obviously, Saxe didn't make it out at the end. We will give a salute to Shane Johnson, who played the character, because as you said, Gary, he's been around on the show since the very beginning. So it kind of feels like they needed to kill a character who's been around for a long time, and that's why I think that worked very well in their favor in this episode. So excellent job on that. My other second takeaway that I want to get into is, again, Effie in this particular episode. Really, this episode to me felt like it was more so about Effie as well as Saxe. Their storylines were like the central focus of this episode. We have other stuff that happened too, obviously. But for me, I think these storylines pretty much were the most prominent. And of course, with Effie, the whole thing is that, finally, everybody has been waiting for Kane and Effie to become something. And it happened in this episode. Now, I will say this, Kane, he did go to Stansfield looking for information on Diana. I'm glad that they made Monet self-aware to tell him, listen, I don't care who you're messing around with, but we got business to focus on now. Because I thought that was pretty funny. He goes up there and then you end up getting caught up with Effie. And listen, it's all good because they've been teasing for the longest time. These two were going to get together. That happened. But yes, Kane, you need to know your priorities. Obviously, you need to pay attention. But pretty much, I want to give a shout out to Jeremiah Lutumba because he predicted in the comment section last week, oh yeah, Monet and Tariq are going to set up Effie. And that's exactly what happened in this episode. They used her as a setup. Once they knew about the Rico investigation, everything was in motion with all of that stuff. And they didn't tell her about it, which obviously she didn't like that they didn't tell her about it, but she did say, I would have did the exact same thing to one of y'all, so it's fine. But really, I kind of feel like she still feel a type of way about that. So I want to see how that impacts how she interacts with other characters moving forward. But again, at the end of this episode, once again, because they have been building this up the entire season, finally they do arrest Effie because she attempted to murder Lauren. And then you had that scene where they bring her outside and Lauren says, yes, that's the one that tried to kill me, all this other stuff. And yeah, I thought that was excellent. Again, it's a nice buildup. And it's funny because early in the episode, we saw them attempting to arrest Effie. But then by the end of the episode, she is arrested. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's she went through a lot in this episode. But I'm very curious to see what happens to her from here on out. Obviously, we were wondering if Diana was going to say anything about the Tejadas when they brought her in for questioning in this episode. That did not happen. But I'm very curious now to see if Effie might say something. I mean, I guess we have to wait and see next week. But yeah, those are my two main takeaways. But now let me just make two quick comments here, okay? And then I want to go to whoever is next. Brayden in this episode, pretty much the discussion we had last week, it played out exactly as we discussed. Brayden told Tariq, obviously Tariq was very angry. He tells RSJ, and now they're basically trying to get their money back from Lucas. So we'll see what happens with that. I also find it interesting how they brought Tate into this as well, saying that he was taking money from them. He took a donation from the Westings. And pretty much that's a problem as well, because you saw that Harper did not like that. So we'll see what happens, because we already know how Tate is as a character. He has to win at all costs. So we'll see what happens. And lastly, Drew in this episode. Oh boy. Well, first and foremost, they did address that Gordo was missing. Evelyn and the Castillo brothers are obviously worried about the whereabouts of their brother. We know what happened to him in the last episode. But again, Drew happens to turn on the TV and see Everett, who finally has decided to come out and show his new white boyfriend to the audience. Obviously, Drew was beside himself, very angry with how this played out. And I did laugh when I saw that, because I was like, yeah, I know they talked a lot about race this season. So I thought that was very interesting that the boyfriend was white. So that was listen, this is great. This was great. It was entertaining. And then obviously Drew does start to drink. He goes to that bar and then he runs into Everett and he has a moment. And somehow somebody is filming this. It becomes viral. And now it's Evelyn and one of Gordo's brothers see it. So now they question what's going on with Drew, because he told him that everything was fine with Gordo. So I look forward to see what happens next week. But overall, I thought this was a fantastic episode. And again, I'm glad to see that the episodes are getting better and better as we get towards the end of the season. So I look forward to seeing what happens next week.
Oh yeah, excellent takeaways. Yeah, you definitely summarized like the main two things because, like you said, this episode focused heavy on Effie and Sax. Like those were like the two big things going on. But yeah, great points, great observations as always. And it is my turn to go first now. So I'll go ahead and go first, and we'll discuss some of those things you mentioned a little later. But uh, first takeaway for me, obviously the Sax, Rich kind of broke it down. I don't know if I can do a better job than that, but I can't believe he's finally gone. Like I wasn't expecting this. I thought, I knew the pressure was getting to him, especially after seeing how things were developing with him, being the CI, the snitch and everything. It seemed like it was very much catching up to him. And of course, in the last episode, Tariq finds out at the end when he talks to Lauren that, Sax is the mole, that he's playing both sides. So I knew that the pressure was going to catch up to him in this episode. And of course, right out the bat, we see Tariq tell Davis McLean, that Sax is the mole, and like you said, Rich, that was funny to see professional Davis McLean, get slightly ratchet a little bit and go for his gun immediately. But yeah, obviously there was only so much he could do, and throughout the episode we see him trying to hide the fact that he knows Sax is playing both sides. And that scene with Diana, the interrogation scene, that was pretty funny to watch, with them both, like Sax and Davis both talking over each other and stuff. And of course he slips Diana the note to tell her to put everything on Effie. So yeah, the whole dynamic between Sax and Davis was great to watch. And Rich said it already that Method Man did a great job, but I definitely wanted to reiterate that and say, I want to give Method Man his flowers for playing this character, because he's doing an amazing job with the acting, like the way he portrays the character. He's doing amazing work on this show. I think, and he was great in The Wire, but like this, this is almost like a defining role for him, because he's not just playing a criminal, he's playing a character with layers and, other things going on. He's got the whole Theo Rollins thing going on. And so I think he's doing a great job as Davis McLean, and I hope he's around much longer in the show. But yeah, and then to finally, well, first of all, we see the pressure starting to get more and more heavy on Sax. There's that moment where he's talking to Jenny. I think this is after they raid the house and they find the sugar and everything. And that is the moment when Sax knows that, he's kind of screwed now, because obviously it means that, the criminals know something. The Tejadas and Tariq, they know that they're onto them. So he knows that they probably are aware of him being the snitch at that point. And, we kind of see him kind of, go, he's trying to stay cool a little bit. And then, he's also going through the whole thing with Jenny at the same time. He tries to act like he's cool, but you can see that it's there's clearly some concern there. And as soon as he walks out of the building, he's sending Tariq a voice note to let him know, I know where your family are. So if anything happens to me, that information dies. So he's already like guessed that they're onto him and that they might try to get rid of him at that point. And then, seeing him get in the car and Theo Rollins is behind him, like, that was a shocker, because after everything Sax did to help him get out, like that was one of the, solid things that he actually did do in this season. And of course he did it for leverage because he wanted to seem like he was doing his job with Davis McLean and stuff. But still, just to see that Theo Rollins is the one that kind of acts upon the information is, pretty interesting. And then we see it happen at the helipad. He takes him to the helipad. Davis and Tariq catch up to them. And yeah, like what a scene that was. With it being at the helipad as well, because they kind of set that up in the previous episode by, taking Theo Rollins to and Davis McLean. They were there. And that was supposed to be like their little victory lap of him getting out. But of course they had, he was kind of upset at Davis for doing bad things to get him out or whatever. So the fact that they went back there, that was very poetic, like, that that's where he chose to go to end Saxe's life and then end his own. And yeah, I feel like Theo Rollins was the perfect character to do this because now, none of the main characters are going to go down for Saxe's murder. Theo Rollins was kind of a side character anyway, even though he's important to Davis McLean, but he was kind of a side character. So it's like, him taking out Saxe is like now one of the main characters won't have to go down for this. And, as a viewer, we don't really lose much. Now, that could also be a complaint because maybe people wanted to see somebody else get revenge on Saxe. Maybe people wanted to see, Tariq or, Davis McLean take him out or something like that. But I just feel like it wouldn't have been the way to do it. And plus, it's, I don't know, like, it would be out of character for Tariq. After Saxe sent that voicemail, I feel like, Tariq would be actually concerned about his family at that point. So I don't think he would take out Saxe after that. And, Davis McLean, I just feel like, it would be, I don't know, it would be kind of weird for him, of all people, to take out Saxe, even though he's justified, I guess, because he snaked him. But at the same time, the situation with his brother, Theo Rollins did get out. So I feel like he wouldn't, and Theo Rollins was already mad at him for doing bad things and stuff. So I feel like he would have a moment of anger like he did when he got the gun. But I feel like after that, he would calm down and not kill Saxe. So Theo Rollins, I think, was the perfect person for this. And, like, I have to give him credit because I know I am critical of the writing in the show sometimes, but I feel like they did a good job setting up this particular moment, like throughout the season, because there was a lot of build up to this particular storyline and this moment. So I hand it to them. But yeah, that's it, man. Saxe is finally gone. He's not immortal no more. Now he's a mere mortal, because he passed away. He's dead. He's gone. So yeah, very interesting. I want to see what the fallout is going to be over this next week. I'm pretty sure Jenny Sullivan is going to be very upset about this, and she's probably going to, this is going to want to like, she's going to want to go after Tariq and the Tejadas even more. I think it's going to put a battery in her back, and Davis McLean also. So yeah, and once again, Method Man did a great job with the reactions as well, breaking down in tears and yelling and stuff. Like, he did a great job with that. Some might say he was overacting, but I don't think so. I think his reaction was perfect, for the situation. So yeah, very interesting with that. I can't wait to see what the people say about Saxe's death. So second takeaway, we see that both Kane and Effie, at the very end, they found out that Lauren is still alive. Once Effie gets busted for the second time, this time it's for Lauren, for the attempted murder on Lauren. And, they roll down the window and they see that Lauren's alive. Kane sees her and runs away. So this is going to be very interesting now that Kane knows that she's alive, because Effie's she's on the inside now, so it is what it is. There, we're going to talk about what we think will happen, but Kane is on the outside, and he knows now that Lauren is alive, and I think probably one of the first people he's going to go to is Tariq, and we know that Tariq knows about, he knows that she's alive already, so I wonder what Tariq's response will be to Kane when he brings this up. And like, I think if he tells Kane that he knew she was alive all this time, Kane is not going to be very happy. I think that's going to lead to some sort of altercation between the two. So it's going to be very interesting to see, how that affects the dynamic between Kane and Tariq. Because Lauren being alive is a very pivotal piece of information. Now we know that Tariq kind of he's told Lauren to kind of like fall back and not give them too much information, but Lauren does hold a grudge against Effie, so I'm wondering how much Lauren will actually end up talking, because she knows a lot about Effie and Kane. She can implicate them directly. So and she might choose to spare Tariq because she has that relationship with him. So it's going to get very dicey. It's going to get very interesting seeing how all of this plays out now in the next two episodes. But yeah, and also Kane and Effie finally getting together, that was interesting. That's another thing they've been kind of building up all season, and now it's finally happened. I can't wait to see what Dana has to say about it, because she keeps like making up her face when we mention it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm 100% for this at all. Like this, relationship between these two is kind of weird, especially because Effie just got out of a relationship with Tariq. But at the same time, things move quickly in Power, especially sexual relationships. Like they move very fast. I mean, Tariq already slept with Diana, so I mean, can we? That's a very messy family. Like the Tejadas are very messy. Like how is it that both Tariq and Effie break up, and both Tejada siblings are sleeping with them immediately? Like that's kind of messy. Like for the family, that's crazy. Because Kane sleeping with Effie, Diana sleeping with Tariq, like almost immediately. It's like, yeah, it's kind of weird.
So you're just saying that all the Tejadas have been getting some action, including Drew, for most of the season. So yeah, that's what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Wait, that explains why Mary Monet is so miserable, because no one's there for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, she ain't got no one to get.
She was.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying she was smiling when Dante was around.
Yeah, you could tell she really loved him. She didn't love Lorenzo. But yeah.
Her kids.
Yeah, she needs to get herself a man now, I guess. So, Tariq better watch out. She might like the young boys, so he needs to watch out. They've been getting close, so I'm joking. But yeah, Tejadas, they're a messy family. That's all I got to say on that. So the Rico, this is the third takeaway. I feel like the Rico case is really falling apart now. So it's very dependent on what Effie says at this point. And I feel like Effie's the type of character who's ride or die and not going to say anything. She might have a beef with Tariq, but I think that she's so like street smart that she's probably not going to say anything. So they're going to have a tough time trying to break her, I think. And I'm wondering if they're going to send Davis McLean to represent her. I don't know, but yeah, the Rico case is looking a little shaky now, especially with this whole sugar thing that happened. That doesn't look good. Diana is already out, so Yeah, they're gonna have to now the Saxe thing that could depending how they deal with that, that could maybe be brought back into play into the Rico case if they find a way to tie it all up. We know that they're already looking at Davis. They want him as like the consigliere of the organization and stuff. So they might try to like say that it was he was involved in setting up Saxe's murder or something like that. So but yeah, other than that, I'm seeing the cracks in the Rico case at this moment, and I think Tariq has been pretty smart, so I think he has a plan on how he could make it all fall apart. With the help of Davis McLean and probably Tate, so we'll have to wait and see where that goes. But those are my takeaways for this week. And yeah, so now I'm going to hand the mic over to Miss Dana Abercrombie. So Dana, hit us with your takeaways.
Hit me with your best shot. Okay. Um, Here's the thing. The episode was called Sacrifice. And, basically there was a lot of sacrifices that happened. Not only with this episode, but you can look at the whole season. And you can also argue with Saxe, which is the question I kind of wanted to ask everyone, was yes, he did die because of, Theo killed him, particularly because of the AZ base being a snitch and being a CI. But I was wondering if this was just karma finally coming up and catching up to him, because he's been shady since day one of the original Power. So was this just something that was just a matter of time? While we may not have expected it to go down the way that it did, to me, it felt like it was something that was of natural order. Eventually, the karma is going to get to you. And it also felt like it was similar to Omar from The Wire. We all knew, at any moment Omar could die, but no one thought it was going to be in that store by a kid. So that just shows, if you keep continuing to play scandalous and dirty, it's going to eventually come up, come for you. And the thing is, you may not know who it is, who's the one that's going to be pulling the trigger. So while I'm back and forth of whether or not I like the fact that Saxe died, or even how he died, who killed him, but it was, a means to a necessary evil, you could say. And this way, I feel the question that I asked from earlier in the episode is, should this show have its own theme song? Because now we've kind of gotten rid of all of the original baggage, and including the people from the original Power series. So I really feel that this is a show that's finally severing ties from the original Power, and that includes the carryover character of Saxe. Tasha and the grandmother and the daughter, they're somewhere off yonder. Grandma makes her a couple of, her appearances here and there, mostly just to be mean and miserable. But overall, because Tasha and Yaz are so far removed, I'm wondering, is this going to be like the final cutting of the cord process for Tariq? So we'll wait and see. But going off with the whole sacrifice thing, a lot of people sacrificed a lot this episode. We had Tate, he told this woman, I am who I am. I like winning. I'm sorry. And she's like, well, you just lost me. And I think she expected some kind of grand gesture of, no, baby, baby, please. But that wasn't the case at all. I like winning. Okay, bye-bye. So he sacrificed his opportunity at having, that kind of perfect life thing come, in this episode. Also with sacrifice, we obviously have to talk about Theo. He made a huge sacrifice, but the thing with me is why It didn't have a full impact. We just got to know this character in literally what, 3 scenes? I understand that Davis, obviously, it's very important to him, but in terms of his death, I didn't really feel anything. Um, it's unfortunate. He talked about he was in prison for basically 28 years. That's sad, and the fact that he was willing for his to die so that his brother could continue to not only live in freedom, but because if you looked at it, he looked up to his brother. He made it. He became the lawyer. He went to Columbia. So him sacrificing his life so that Davis can continue to be successful, that was a very sweet gesture. And the fact that I really didn't care about the character, I'm cool with him dying. Like, okay, cool. I do wonder how this will change Davis. It's very sad. You can say he is to blame because he told. Obviously, he didn't know what Theo was going to do. He did tell him though what was going on, which then led to the events of Theo deciding to take things in his own hands and being the killer. But if you look at it this way, everyone was trying to kill Saxe. Period. Why not have this be a character that is not connected with anyone so that the story can continue to move on? Because in the same, again, my same argument would be I would have liked a little chaos. So I wish they did have a character who was kind of more attached to the show. That would have been really, and if it was Davis, how does that change everything? The fact that Tariq now knows that if it was Davis that one had killed him, then how would that change the dynamic of their relationship? Would Davis end up having to be like the errand boy and not being paid for what he's doing? So that would have been more interesting. But we got what we got. It is what it is. Boo. With the sacrifice theme, I want to talk about Drew. Obviously, he let other what he how do I explain this? He sacrificed his moment of happiness, in order to, from my understanding, it was Everett who broke up the relationship, right? No?
That's correct. Yeah, it was.
So
because
it was Everett. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember that Drew was supposed to go with him, and then that was the night that he got jumped.
Right.
And he tried to tell him that, and he didn't want to hear any of that. So yeah, it was Everett that said, "No, I'm done. Game over."
It was Everett, yeah. So it was Everett who said that he was done. But you look at it. What Drew did say, or basically confess, was maybe it seemed like he wished he could have fought harder. I don't know. And in terms of that relationship, because Everett was so like, stay away from me, ill. But at the same time, by losing Everett, he gained Gordo, but Gordo ended up betraying him, killed his dad, and then he had to kill Gordo, which led to the big crying thing. So he lost a lot just by going with Gordo. In that terms, he lost his dad. And, he's now carrying the weight of killing his boyfriend, his cousin boyfriend. So that is a sacrifice right there. And then, him always wanting to be in charge of everything. If you go back from previous, remember the whole Russians? So, he's sacrificed that as well. Also, I wanted to talk about obviously the Effie situation. I liked how they originally set up Effie to take the fall for the drugs. And we kind of knew something was a little off, but we didn't know. For me, at first, I was like, oh, they're really getting rid of her. They're going to blame her for basically everything. Until we saw that twist of, oh, it was Sugar the whole time. But I think with Effie, she obviously not killing Lauren, we all know came back to bite her. Also, she lost her relationship with Tariq. I gave the funny face because I don't like at all what happened between her and Kane. I was like, to me, it was like you're this strong woman who's like, screw you. I don't need your money, but thank you for the money. Then that's it. But instead, that's not what happened. In the end, it was like, are you sure you don't want me to pay me back? I'll pay you back. And then she sleeps with him. just unprovoked, which I just did not like. I didn't know if it was guilt because of what happened with Tariq, but I just thought it was not. I hated that so much. I wanted her to continue to be this strong woman who's like, I don't need nobody, but thank you for the money. I think that is what initially came to, to Effie, was that I don't need you. I'm strong and independent. And then you guys slept together, and so now what? And then you could tell, like, I'm not one of those girls who, don't check up on me. And you're all girly and like, oh. I just didn't like it. I hated that whole thing. I hated the concept. I don't like it, but the sacrifice of one of what happened with the whole drug situation, then the Lauren thing finally catching up to her. It took Jenny an entire season to finally listen to Lauren, because remember, she was saying since day one it was Effie, and then Jenny was like, no, it's Tariq. Like, I never understood that argument of her just being straight up hard-headed. But Effie finally is gonna be sacrificed in jail, I don't know how she's gonna beat this unless Lauren completely backtracks and they can't prove anything. But then Lauren has them out. So I'm pretty sure Lauren gave her testimony, basically throwing Effie. They didn't even say throw her under the bus. She said what was actually true. She tried to kill her. So that right there, that is a sacrifice. Now the whole situation regarding the Ponzi scheme, it's really hard to be like, oh, anyone who I think it would be that corporate greed you sacrifice a lot for in order to partake in corporate greed. By giving the money over to Weston Holdings, you think that it's going to accumulate something more, and in fact, it's all a big Ponzi scheme. So you could argue and say, oh, greed begets greed, and therefore you lost everything. The fact that they thought that they was going to continue to hold on to the money when it was like, oh, we'll just blackmail you. And then that went to complete garbage poop once Tate found out. And obviously there's the black man who was there like, I've been looking into them for all these years. So clearly, that to me just seemed like you did a lot of dirty, and it's finally coming back to you. I also view sacrifice, you could also say, is another round of karma, because this is what happened as well. You wanted to get more money, and now you not only have your money involved, but I believe that's why they were upset about the whole Mona situation, because the money they're trying to get the money for her. So that's another thing that's gonna probably be something bigger later on. Like, all of the money is gone, and now you lost everyone's money. You have RSJ, you have Tariq, and you have the Tejadas. So, and this, so you look at it, they will all agree. You cannot say that you're a billionaire by doing something righteous all the time. You have to play dirty in the end in order to just become a billionaire. So I just think that that's probably karma just going up with everyone right there. And then kind of, I believe that was 3, but I just want to kind of sneak in really quick that I thought that it was interesting with Saxe. Obviously he didn't know he thought he was going to die. He knew he was going to die, but he just didn't know who was going to be the one to do it. I thought it was really cute when he sent Tariq that voicemail. You can hear he was terrified in his voice. And so it made me wonder whether or not he was bluffing in terms of, if I die, you'll lose the location of where, Tasha and Yaz are. So to me, it just seemed like it was one of those desperation calls, because it was a desperation call. But he was just trying to do everything that he thought in order to stay alive. So that obviously did not work out, because then we ended up with Theo being the person in the car that I never imagined it would have been. Even though they kind of alluded to it, if you look at it in the very beginning, there was a lot of foreshadowing within this episode. But yeah, that one to me was just hilarious also. And then lastly, when Kane took off running, I thought it was going to be a big scene when Kane saw Lauren in the car. but he was kind of just hiding, and then he took off running. I was like, where are you running to? You gonna go tell everyone? I don't know. But I thought overall it was very good. It was hilarious. Effie got arrested twice. I liked it. I have no complaints. I again had no issues with what's his name, Method Man's acting. Like he was screaming and yelling. Have you ever been in South Street Seaport? It's very loud. There's helicopters all over the place. You have to yell too. You know, you have to be in the environment in order to understand. It's literally a bunch of helicopters taking off and landing. You gotta, and then on top of that, you know, the dude is about to kill a dude, and then your life is about to shatter. You think at that moment because they're gonna come for you as well. So you would be yelling. I like everything that Method Man has been doing with his acting. I think he is top notch. I think he should open up the school and solely teach Mary J. Blige because he has a lot of wisdom he could bestow upon others, you know. And another thing with Mary really quickly was Monet. I love what she's with the boots and the whole outfit that she was working, much better than what we saw on the Met Gala on Sunday. I just wanted to say that out there. Her boot game is unmatched. Seriously, the outfits were flowing. I wish that they dressed her, you know, instead of whoever dressed her for the Met Gala, because she was suffocating a little bit in that dress. The boots were amazing, but she was suffocating. That's it. I'm sorry, I ranted.
Oh well, I didn't see that her Met Gala outfit, but I
You
might have to
gotta
go
see
look for
it.
that.
It's like blue lace with matching blue thigh-high boots, and you know she gives a good thigh, and she know how to walk in somebody's boots. But the thing is, with the dress, it looked like it was a little bit too small, so it just wasn't fitting properly. One boob was up here, the other one was flat. I don't know if it was just the angle of the photos, but it wasn't given what it should have gave.
Oh well, I know your boy Kai would have liked it still, but he's dead now. So, but now excellent takeaways as always. Great observations. And yeah, I agree. Method Man, he's doing amazing work. Oh, you had something else?
And one more thing, I love the mind games that they played with Diana. Well, the mind games Diana was playing in terms of us not knowing what is she gonna flip on Monet because she had the opportunity to be like, screw you, mom, and like fully put it out there. And another thing I wanted to touch upon real quickly too was if you notice, Monet, she wasn't upset. Like, oh my God, my daughter is arrested. Oh my goodness, my precious child. It was like, oh, she's going to tell everybody about me. It always seems back to her. This is why I don't. She is self-centered. She's selfish. She don't deserve any of those kids. And I hope they all leave her because she needs to just be miserable and alone by herself. So everything that Shaq said about Jen when he was like, oh, you know, this basically saying that this is over and all you have is just your ambition and your loneliness to comfort you. That's what Monet needs. She needs loneliness to comfort her because that's all she deserves. Your child is in prison and the whole thing is, oh, she's going to tell on me. I don't like her. I don't like the character. It's grimy. Okay, I'm done.
Oh yeah, she's definitely grimy and manipulative. But what I found funny was that one scene where Diana.
Mhm.
Oh, no, I'll let you go in a sec. But the one thing I found funny was that one scene with Diana when she gets out of when she gets released with Monet, and like she's like, oh, I want this and I want that, I want this, I want to go to a new school and all that stuff, and Monet's like, man, shut up, and just tells her, shut up, let's go home, like whatever, you know. That was hilarious. But what was you gonna say, Dana?
No, I was going to say this. The reason why I think Everett got with the boy with the white stripes, with the blue stripes, was simply because even though he looks like he stormed the Capitol, he looks at this moment to be unproblematic. So I'm for their relationship. Be happy. Don't storm capitals, but be happy.
Oh yeah, white boy was ready to do something to Drew. You saw he had that energy
you
for a
ready?
second.
We can take this outside, man. But if you look at it, Everett looks like he's the same way too. Do they not? They look like they just, that same cornballness. They go right with each other. See, Drew was too hard for him. That's why he was like, nah, I can't deal with this. I gotta go upstate. And I think he probably used his gayness as like a shield to cover the fact that he just didn't want to be involved because their family was just a little too messy. Dead bodies, you know what I mean? It was drug stuff. So that's why I think he went with Chad. Chad to him just seemed like they the same. And they can go vote for Trump together.
Oh, well, okay. Moving on swiftly. I don't want to go there. But yeah, so yeah, let's get to the questions. I have a few questions here that I'm gonna ask. So the major one that I have to ask, so we know that Saxe, one of the things he did before he was murdered, he did call Tariq and told him, you can't get rid of me because, if you kill me, the location of Tasha and your sister is gone, because I'm the only one that knows or whatever. So the question, I have, with keeping that in mind, but also what do you think is going to be the aftermath of Saxe's death? And, you can keep everything in mind. So, Jenny Sullivan, what's her reaction going to be? What's Tariq's, reaction going to be? We saw he was, visibly disturbed, but what is he going to do next now? What is Davis going to do? Because he lost his brother as well. So it's like, what do you think that the whole aftermath of these two deaths is going to be, moving forward into the next episode? So, Rich, I'm going to let you go first. What do you think?
Okay, that's a very good question. If I had to make a guess, I'm going to say that, well, two things. First and foremost, Tariq and Davis, they need to cover their tracks. They need to make sure that, because again, while what Data's point was that she made is that because they did not kill Saxe, you would think that they're no longer being looked upon as suspects. But the fact that Theo Rollins was Davis's brother, I could easily see Jenny be like, oh, well, he probably just put his brother up to this. So they're not fully in the clear. They have to work together to make sure that they obviously need to be careful, cover their tracks to make sure that they have alibis. The other thing is that going back to the previous episode, Lauren is the one that told Tariq that Saxe was working with the feds. So I'm pretty sure she will now be suspicious of Tariq because this entire time she's been listening to what he told her. Obviously, she used his information about Effie to get her arrested. But if I'm Lauren now, I would be very suspicious of Tariq. Say that, well, there's some stuff that he made, obviously that he lied about some stuff, and maybe he had something to do with taking out Saxe. So definitely not they're not in the clear. There's still a lot to worry about. And the other thing I will also mention with Tariq is very interesting information regarding Saxe making that phone call, because I feel like now Tariq is going to have to find out. Maybe he will try to look into what information it is that Saxe has and how he can get access to that information so that nothing bad happens. So obviously, they already told us in this season that Estelle, which is, that's his grandmother, he basically sent her back with Tasha and Yaz. All right. So maybe we'll see Estelle again at some point. I mean, I think they told you that for a reason. So we have to see what happens. But ultimately, I just think at the end of the day, they're not in the clear because people were still going to suspect. And just like you said, Gary, I think that Jenny will definitely still be determined to take down everybody. Obviously, she had this relationship with Saxe, right? But it's a very complicated relationship. And you saw them playing back and forth the entire season. She is going to feel responsible for him getting killed, though, because she did tell him in this episode, well, I can't protect you anymore. So I'm very curious to see what happens. But at the end of the day, nobody is in the clear regarding Tariq, as well as Davis. So I'm very curious to see what happens next.
Oh yeah, no, that was a great point you made about Lauren, because if she hears this news about Saxe being killed, she knows that she was the one that told Tariq that Saxe knew about everything, so yeah, that's an interesting point there, because that could influence her decision, in how she's gonna approach the case and testify and stuff. So that's a good point.
And since you made that point, let me go ahead and make this comment right now. Last week on this show, I said I would not be surprised if Effie doesn't make it out of this season. Well, now I want to change my original statement and say I think that Lauren is the one that doesn't make it out of the season, because the thing about it is this: she knows this information, like you just said. She can definitely say something or be swayed because she knows about what happened with Saxe. To some degree, she suspects that Tariq was involved. So, but I kind of feel like now that Kane knows that Lauren is alive, and I had said this earlier when we started the season, something has to happen to either her or Effie, because Effie obviously now Effie knows that she's alive and she's basically confirmed that she tried to kill her. So I think something happens to one of those characters by the end of the season. I mean I don't know. Obviously Effie has this thing going on now with Kane. We need to see where this goes because she is in custody now. But I'm very curious to see what happens, because I don't see both of those characters making out of this season. But let's see what happens, because again, I think if something does happen to Lauren, then at that point, Tariq may have an issue with, whatever happens to her, especially if he has to do it himself, because the entire season, this is what Brayden and Effie was suggesting. They did it. Effie said she did it because she didn't believe Tariq could do it. So we'll see what happens. But I kind of feel like Lauren is not safe, even though she is in protective custody, so to speak. I don't think she's all the way safe.
Oh yeah, I mean, it wasn't that hard for Tariq to get to her, so you know, she's definitely not safe. And
Yeah.
I could definitely see maybe Kane trying to take her out.
Yep.
And if that happens, that will just solidify the bloody rivalry between Tariq and Kane that's kind of brewing right now.
Yep.
So that would be interesting. But Dana, what do you think is going to be the aftermath of Saxe's death?
So, in regards to the Lauren situation, I just wanted to piggyback really quickly on what was being said. I think that yes, Kane wants to do it the most, but he's going to get Tariq to do it and force him to do it, because one of two things, as you guys also stated, Effie stated that she couldn't kill Lauren because Effie stated that she had to kill Lauren because Tariq basically wasn't man enough to do it. And again, this has to be his opportunity to kill her, and Kane is already fuming with anger. So I think it'll be one of those situations where like Kane puts the gun to Tariq's head until, and then Lauren's right there and he has to kill her. Or you could say, Kane goes to kill her and Tariq jumps in and is like, I'll do it. Boom, boom, boom. I think this has to be his moment to shine because Effie, didn't lie. He couldn't do it. He wanted her to run to another state. And there was no guarantee she wouldn't stop talking. And if you look at it, she's kind of nosy anyway, and she looks like somebody who'll talk. So, and what did she do? Talk. That's how we got this whole Rico case. But yeah, she has to go, and it has to be by Tariq because this is just raggedy at this point. I don't like it. So sorry. Another thing.
Oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you right now for some reason. Is it just me? Or Oh, can you hear her, Rich?
I think.
Can you hear
Say
me?
something.
Can
Yeah,
anyone hear
now we
me?
hear you. Yeah, we hear you now.
Oh, so sorry. I don't know what happened with that there. But so that is in regards to um, the brother being dead. It easily looks like, oh, he had nothing to live for. You just told me about the whole cancer situation, what was the hepatitis situation and the treatments, and it failed because you can easily call up the medical examiner people and they can connect to the hospital. Oh, it failed. So therefore, that would just be even a more greater opportunity for Davis to tell his brother to kill him. So I think the scope of what they're looking at in terms of Davis is going to be even more closer. I think they're going to examine every single move that he does from this point out. Jen is vengeful, and I genuinely think that despite the fact that they can't stand each other, they love each other. And I think she loves him. And the fact that he's now dead and gone, I think she's going to be even more full of rage. And she's going to come after everyone even harder in order to get justice for Saxe. So that right there is a poop. And the thing also is Davis is involved in everything. He's involved in everyone's business. So that, makes it even more of a problem when it comes to the Tejadas. How is, Tariq moving? Brayden, because Brayden is connected to Tariq. So this whole circle that we've been watching will have an even closer scope on them now. The whole Lauren situation, Lauren, she may also be in trouble because it's like, where did Tariq get this information from? So I wonder what's going to happen to her. And say if she is released and she does live, what happens? Does she just go off disappear into the dust? I think it'll be, as a fan, as a watcher, something needs to happen to that character. And I'm not necessarily saying death. It's just in general, something needs to happen to this character because you put us through all of this for the whole season. You had her locked away where we saw her, with just her and a can of Spam. So I think that her sacrifice or her actions have to mean something at the end of the day. And I don't know what's that going to look like with her. But to me, just overall, I think she just served the purpose of the Rico case, and she can. I don't know. Maybe she'll die too. The show it gave us bodies, but it hasn't given us a lot of bodies. I want some more bodies. So basically, I think that is what's going to happen in terms of the whole Saxe thing. And I wanted to say something really quickly in regards to now that Saxe is dead, Tariq doesn't have the location of his family. That's not true because remember, he was always in contact with grandma. And one thing he said to grandma is, I'll catch up with you. So I think if he was to speak to grandma again, send a text message, grandma would give the address. I don't see that being a big thing. Just because remember, she was able to remember, she has a schedule where she comes every week to the gravesite and she lays down the flowers. Hi, grandma. Let's go see mom and little sister. So I don't really think that it was that big of a deal. I don't think the thing is that Saxe didn't know that Tariq was still in contact with grandma. So that right there, he already knows the address and he can get the location because she's not someone who ever said, I'm not going to tell you nothing because you bring death upon the family. She didn't say that. She said you bring death upon the family, but you're supposed to be here with me and we're supposed to meet up with Tasha and Yaz. So yeah, she'll tell them. That's not an issue.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's ways he can find out their location for sure. And yeah, I agree with what you guys was saying. I do think somebody else major has to die, like between Effie and Lauren, because the thing is I don't know. There's a few ways it can go, but I do think that the Rico has to collapse completely for us to still have a show. Because because it's very boring if the Rico is successful and everyone's locked up, you know. So I do think that Rico is going to fall apart, and it's just a matter of how that happens, you know. Who's going to die or who's going to flip, you know, something's going to happen in the next 2 episodes, I think. And you know, I could see maybe Lauren dying, but the only thing with that is, you know, they tried to do it once already. You know, it's like, are they gonna go in that direction again? I mean, I guess they could, because it's gonna obviously hurt Tariq, like, and they wanna put strain on the main character. But you know, they tried to do that one time already. So go ahead, Rich.
I just will make a comment and say I do agree that they tried to do it already, but I do want to say this. I know from the moment that we saw Lauren and Tariq as a couple, you kind of felt like this was sort of like the Angela Ghost relationship. This is somebody who he went after. So I think it would be a very interesting twist if he has to actually kill her. Because if you remember in the original Power, Ghost was going to have to try to kill Angela. It didn't happen, right? Never happened. So I kind of feel like if it does happen, that'll be a hell of a twist, because someone, you know, like you said, Kane could do it. And yeah, that could be how you explain now this whole thing between Kane and Tariq. But I kind of feel like if Tariq has to do it, the character does change again to, you know, he continues to evolve and become the person that he's supposed to become. So I want to see how they handle that. But I do agree with what you said, Gary. In order for the Rico to fall over, she does have to go down, because she knows a lot of information, unless somebody else is another target. But I kind of feel like she's the one that's most important right now. So we have to see how they handle that.
Yeah, so like there's one scenario where I feel like it would be good if Tariq kills Lauren. Like if it's like Kane forces him to, like, I won't respect that. But if he just decides to do it on his own, like it was his plan all along, and that like solidifies him as Ghost's successor, because it's like you're like, we all know Ghost's mistake was that he loved Angela. Like that was his biggest weakness, right? So if Tariq then manages to kill his biggest weakness and like just take her out, like that would solidify him as, okay, he is the new Ghost. So if they do it like that, where he's not actually forced to do it, but like he just decides this is the best thing for me to do and I'm going to do it because she is a weakness, then I think that's the best way that, you know, they could do that.
I agree. I want to go to Dana next. But let me just
go ahead, Dana.
Let me just make one quick comment though, and let me just say this: is that I agree with what you said. But I will also add that as far as this thing with Tariq is concerned, in Lauren, actually, go ahead, Dana, because I had the thought, it escaped my mind for a second. It'll come right back, but go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say quickly that this is technically Brayden's fault. And remember, it was Kane who almost killed Brayden, because he did, you know, he owes him a body, essentially. And you could argue, I know this sounds weird, what if Brayden was to actually be the successor in terms of Ghost? Remember, to me, it seems like Tariq and Brayden have been switching places. And we've seen that a lot with this season. What if for this moment, not saying forever, for the entirety of the show, he ends up becoming that successor to Ghost, in terms of he's smart. He knows how to make all these different moves. The only time that we really saw him crack was like when he came to Tariq. It was like, what do we do now? In terms of, you know, the Ponzi scheme situation. You help me figure this out. But he has been stepping up. He came up with all these plans. The only thing is that he can't seem to actually kill people. And I think once he masters that, or gets a taste of that, it could help form him as a better, I don't want to say a better person, but a better, well-rounded individual within the Power universe. it raises him more, and his confidence level it will be even more. So, and he stated this is not something that he did because he was bored. It was something that he enjoys doing. He feels like he belongs. He feels smart for once. So, what if it's him that actually finally kills Lauren because it was his fault the entire time. Even though technically you could say it's Tariq, but still, the fact is Brayden didn't kill her. And so this one makes up for the body that he owes Kane, and also it solidifies him as more as the power position. So, and again, even though the Westerns their name is not very good right now in terms of what it is, he could probably again. You could say that, oh, he was already arrested and we had that whole drug thing. But if you look at privilege, chances after chances after chances after chances. So he could be able to be the one who gets away with it the most, solely because of that privilege. We've seen it multiple times. One of the guys now is the headline of one of the biggest movies that's about to come out. And everyone's saying, well, once you see the movie, you'll forget his crimes. So, that's just how privilege works.
Yep.
We can forgive someone. So it might just be him.
I think that's a very excellent point. I was going to say two things. I do recall what I was going to say, but I'll say that in a minute. But as far as Brayden is concerned, I just will make a comment and say, whenever Brayden had these conversations in the episode where he has to tell the other person something bad, and then the way he responds is funny. Like in this episode, he tells Tariq about the ponzi scheme, and then Tariq is like, "Yeah, this is bad." He says, "No, I don't want you to. I don't want you to agree. You're not supposed to agree with me on this." It's just I find it very funny how when he has these conversations, and then of course when he in the previous episode when he told Lucas, "This is what I found. This is the ponzi scheme," and then he says, "Oh, you're right." He says, "No, I didn't want to be right." I mean, I find that stuff funny because I just wanted to give a shout out to Giovanni. That's the actor's name. But the comment that I was going to make is that this entire season, in terms of Tariq and Lauren, they have told us that Jenny is very careless. She doesn't know that Lauren has been talking to Tariq this entire time. That's why I say it makes sense if Tariq did have to take her out, because she doesn't know that Tariq has been getting any of this information from Lauren for some reason. So, like you said, Gary, it's very easy that Tariq was able to easily contact Lauren, meet up with her right before she had to talk with the authorities as well. So that's why I say we'll see what happens. But Tariq or Brayden taking out Lauren, I can see that happening, and that probably needs to happen by the end of the season.
Yeah, and was that the thing you were gonna say?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Dana.
So I was wondering between Effie and Lauren, who deserves to die more? I mean, they're both terrible in a way, but Effie, she's been more. You could say she's been more. I don't know what the terminology would be. Down. She's supported them more, but at the same time, that was never Lauren's lane. I mean, and yeah, technically he was going to kill her because she knows too much. But then again, she is responsible for this whole Rico situation. Yep. So, who deserves to die more?
I'm gonna go with Effie because with Lauren, like you said, Lauren didn't choose this life. And the rules of the streets are civilians are off limits, or that's what it's supposed to be. And Lauren is a civilian, so she's supposed to snitch. She's supposed to tell what she saw because she's a civilian and she's not in the streets. Effie, she hasn't told per se, but she's done some things that to mess with Tariq. So that would justify him, wanting to clap back at her or whatever. And at the current moment, she's in a very vulnerable position because she's locked up now. So, yeah, go ahead, Rich.
So is it possible to say that they can both get taken out? because we know now that Effie is building something with Kane. So obviously, whether she gets arrested or killed, I kind of think Kane would feel pretty bad about that. And then on the flip side of that, Lauren obviously has information that incriminates Kane. So listen, it will be very interesting if Kane decided to take it upon himself to take out Lauren because Tariq failed to do it. But I mean, I don't know how they're going to go, but I do think that's a very good question. I'm just saying one of them is probably not going to make it out of this season, but that'll be a hell of a shocker if they both get taken out. That'll be very interesting, but we'll see what happens.
You know how I was upset that Effie slept with Kane, and I'm like, no, and you're giving him the googly eyes. What if that was a power play? I'm going to make you feel something, to get closer to you, because I know you could kill me. But it might be harder to kill me if I make you feel that there's a relationship there.
Yeah. And by the way, that I like that theory. And by the way, she does have the motive to do so because it just makes perfect sense to me. Because I know when we talked about before, what would happen when Kane finds out that Lauren is alive? Would he go after Effie or would he go after Brayden? So obviously, Effie has got arrested in this episode, so he can't really go after Effie. So I guess we'll have to see what happens next. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, great discussion there, by the way. Even the follow-up questions you asked, Dana, that was great. But let's talk about somebody else now. So this gonna be an interesting one for us to discuss. But your boy Drew went viral on YouTube's. On the YouTubes, he went viral. He had a viral video with Everett, and Evelyn happened to see this. First it was Gordo's brother who saw it, and then he showed Evelyn, and Drew contradicted everything he said earlier, where he said everything with Gordo was fine. Now in the video he's saying he lost Gordo or whatever. So we can assume that Evelyn and the Castillos are gonna question Drew in the next episode. We can assume that. So how do you think that's gonna go? Because we know Drew straight up killed Gordo. So what is his reaction gonna be to being questioned by them? Like, what is he gonna do in that situation? Because if he he can't tell them that he's dead, because like it's most likely going to lead to a war. Is a war unavoidable at this point? Between the Tejadas and the Castillos. Like, what do you guys think about that? So I'm going to go to you first, Dana. What do you think about that? What do you think is going to happen when they question Drew?
Okay. So yeah, he's in a pickle. He's in all the pickle juice right now. Because it was such a open display of his feelings, and it basically said, he lied to them, saying it was all good, and then he's crying and moping all over the place. So you can put two and two together, that if he's probably dead, dude's missing, and he's crying all over the place. So he knows exactly what happened, and he's not having to just contend with the mom. It's the whole family, all the brothers who never liked him, by the way. Remember, they kept voting against him. So you could argue that it could be a war, and it was already warish because of the relationship between Monet and Evelyn. So the thing is that I don't think the mothers can protect them this time around at all. And the fact that you came after her son, it's all right if you kill the dad, cool, but that's her son that came from her. So we're looking at war at this moment, and Drew just seems to be a character who just keeps getting himself into trouble and starting unnecessary wars. So he's in trouble. You can argue, unless, I think the whole family saw the video. The Tejadas saw the video as well. Unless they can come together and devise a plan, I think it's going to be a war. There's no conversation that you can have with this one, because Evelyn said, that's my son. So it has to be a war at this point. And that's what we're going to just probably get. And it was brewing for a while. And plus, this is why you don't go with cousin brothers. Just don't do that. It's too much complications. Everyone's all knows already each other. So I don't like it. Also, on top of that, where's the body? So I think one of two things. Where's the body? I did not see any burial, because remember, they don't know where he's at. We did not see them get rid of the body once he got shot in the shower. So who's to say that Jenny or one of the other ones, a nosy jogger that we've seen from the first episode who discovered Lauren's car, who's to say we're not going to get a jogger come past and see the body? So therefore, that involves the police, and then you have them warring with each other, and the police is already trying to open Rico cases. So it just looks like a hot mess. So unless you just figure out a way to outsmart the other one, there's going to be a war.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unavoidable at this point. There has to be a war. And like I said, the Tejadas, they're reckless with the bedroom, man. Like Kane in bed with Effie, Diana in bed with Tariq, like after their breakup, like, and now this, like, they've always got some weird, kind of drama coming from their entanglements,
Uh-oh. That's that word. Be careful. Be careful.
No, this would actually be the entanglement. It makes it worse because it's the cousin brother. So
yeah. And if there's one person, well, things got messy with Lorenzo, but I feel like there was a point where the Castillos kind of respected him, before they knew that he took out, their father. And
well, they was told. They didn't find out.
Oh yeah, it was told. But I feel like he's the only one that could have like resolved this. At this point, I think it has to be war, because just the simple fact that Drew lied about Gordo, things with Gordo being okay. He withheld information, and Evelyn is a mother, which means she's worrying out of her mind right now. Like once my mom can't, like, once I don't answer the phone one time, my mom is like going out of her mind, like, trying to figure out what's going on. So, Evelyn can't get hold of Gordo at all. So I know that she's being torn apart inside. So the fact that Drew just like withheld information, that's, already grounds for her to go crazy on him. So yeah, I really want to see what's gonna happen next week, because yeah, this is gonna get messy. It's gonna get messy, and Kane is probably gonna have to like help Drew in some way, maybe bail him out. I don't know, but yeah, he's got himself into something here. But Rich, what do you think about this? What do you think is going to happen once the Castillos confront Drew and ask him what's going on with Gordo?
I definitely think that war is coming. They've already told us in this show that the brothers don't like Drew, especially when you start mixing business and pleasure with their other brother, because they made a big deal about that in the previous episode when they were talking about, we want that 50-50 cut now. And of course, Drew had to leave so that Gordo could negotiate something better. So I kind of feel like there will definitely be war. What I would like to see in the next episode, however, is the Tejada family finding this same video and making mention of the fact as well, so that they are well aware. Oh, now we know what now if something happens, then they're going to know the context as to why the Castillos feel a certain type of way. So hopefully we will get that, because it would make sense as far from a writing standpoint for them to also find the video if it went viral, so to speak. But we'll see about that. But overall, this is not good for Drew. He's going to have to at some point answer for this, and because he is a hothead, and now if he gets confronted in the next episode and he is by himself, hey, I don't know. Maybe the character will get taken out. You never know, but we have to wait and see what happens. I don't feel like anything's going to happen with him quite yet, but I am looking forward to seeing what happens once they have their next confrontation, because it is going to happen for sure next week, I believe. Definitely going to happen at that point, but we'll see what happens.
So to me, overall, Drew is more of a liability. You know, he's all over the place. He's reckless. So for me, I think he has to die the most.
Oh,
he has to. He's starting random wars. He's not listening to anyone. He's ego tripping. He's crying over the dude. It's not like the dude's dead. It's like the relationship is over with. No, his other dude that he went and slept with, he's dead. But why would you get involved? He told you to not get involved with him in that whole situation. And he did it anyway. So it just comes to the point where he's just hard-headed. He's hard-headed. He's probably jealous. Remember, he started off the episode a little jealous of Cain. Well, Cain was technically jealous at him. But the thing is with Cain never lied. Cain saw something in Drew that just wasn't all it's not all there. And it turned out he's not all there. And this spiraling effect is helping no one at this situation. So I could, if they just kill him off. You're doing nothing. Everything that you do is just raggedy and tacky, and now it's in public where you breaking down and crying all over the place, and people are recording you, and you confessing the murders online.
So, yeah.
So he has to go.
He definitely is a loose cannon. I do agree he needs to at some point get taken out. We'll see if that happens, but
well, now would be a good time, because with season 3, it'd be worse.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, we got a few episodes left, so we'll see what happens. But one thing I will say, though, to go to your point, you say he is a loose cannon. I'm still waiting for that evidence that the Russians killed Lorenzo, which we're not going to get. So, yes, he is a loose cannon.
He's a loose cannon. And he's not smart. He was smart, but that's gone. He's acting like, remember Scarface at the end when he was completely paranoid and going completely crazy? He's getting a bit Scarfacey. Yeah, he's getting Scarfacey. And what happened? He died. So I'm good with him dying. He took everyone out, but still, he died.
You know, when they asked him, what we going to do? We're going to war. So, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. I agree. He's acting a little shaky. He's delusional. He's emotional, so I feel like if there is a Tejada that needs to go, I definitely vote Drew personally. But we'll see. I don't think they're gonna let this character go yet, because he's like remember how Tariq was annoying in original Power and everyone wanted him to die? Like Drew is kind of like that now. So I don't think they're gonna let him die just yet. But let's get to another question here, right? And then we'll get final thoughts. So we know that Noma and Obi, they aren't really around in every episode. They come and go, but the whole show kind of revolves around them a little bit, because it's they're the whole motivation for why they're selling drugs at the moment, right? Now this Rico, like, now that they're making busts, this is about to blow up heavy. Like there's no way that Noma and Obi can't start hearing about this Rico if they're making busts at this point. So it's like, I think it's only a matter of time before they would hear about it, right? So the question I want to ask is, how do you think they would react if they started hearing about, all these busts? Because first Diana got busted, then then Effie. Like at some point, I feel like this news is going to start to get to them. Like they're going to start hearing about all of this, and that, what would you think their reaction is going to be at that point? Like, are they going to be upset that the main people selling their drugs are kind of like under investigation, involved in a RICO and everything like that? Or do you think they could offer some assistance in any way? So, Rich, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, I personally feel that Noma, as a person that is in a position of power, she should also have some powerful friends, whether it be people that work in law enforcement, FBI, or whatever, because even Mecca was an informant. So that's what I'm thinking, is that she should know, she should be able, if something was to happen, she should be able to control the situation or have people that are under her control that they can make sure this situation doesn't escalate any further. But again, the problem is, Gary, she has been spending a lot of time over in your hometown. So therefore, we probably will not see. Hey, listen, if we see her in the next episode, that'll be awesome. But I think more than likely, what is going to happen in the finale episode, all right, they're going to have a scene where Monet goes back to the warehouse and all of a sudden Noma shows up. So we get our showdown between Noma and Monet. That's probably what's going to happen, because they have been spending the entire season building up Monet as somebody who is now power hungry. She will do whatever she wants to get her way. So that probably will happen at some point. Maybe it won't happen in the season finale, but it is going to happen before this show is over with, because those two characters, it feels like they're on a collision course. So it's going to happen. But to answer the question, I kind of feel like Noma, if she's in a position of power, and she is powerful, right? She has to have some friends so they can easily observe this situation and make it go away. But again, we have to see that, because we haven't seen that on the show yet, as far as Noma is concerned, having connections like that. So maybe we'll get some answers on that soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they have someone on the inside or something, planted on the inside. So that would be an interesting twist. But Dana, what do you think is going to be Noma and Obi's reaction to the Rico? Once they start to hear about it.
Well, Richard made a really good point, because if you look at overall, all of the problems that they had for this season seems to magically disappear. The Saxe situation. Oh, here's Theo. The Russian war. Oh, Jen and another one just happened to be in the church the whole time. We arrested them. So you could say, off camera somewhere, I got people to take care of that. And then, they dropped the Rico case. Some, the FBI agent swarms in. Jen's all like, what's going on? What's going on? Blanca's all like, I don't understand, And so they just swarm in and close down the entire investigation. And then Laura's just left to fend for herself. But yeah, you could just say that, she'll make a call. She has connections. She knows some billionaires. We still don't know what happened with the daughter. There are whole storylines that they just dropped. What's going on with the daughter situation? That doesn't really seem like it matters at this point. So yeah. The fact that the dude is dead. What's going on there? We don't know anything about Noma. She came in with a bang and then just randomly went back to England like she was Mary Poppins or something. So you could say that, but what I would like to see is that they can't solve this Rico case at this moment. Something else happened in regards to she can't solve it, neither can Obi. But this ends up becoming, more of a demand or more angry that she has towards them. And I do want the Monet Mona situation, because remember, she was a fiance, and that just seemed to be like a random fact in order to get the ring, and then all to lead up to what's happened with Dante. But she was the fiance, and I still want my showdown. We again don't know anything about her. We don't. Oh, sorry, that was me. Lord, it's a biscuit. Okay, so yeah, we don't know anything about that. See, that was the ghost of Noma trying to beat me down. But I don't know what's gonna happen with them. Like, I don't know what their purpose would be, unless if it's just to randomly bibbity boppity boo this situation away. Because They've been gone for so long. It's not like we even have a thing that's involved. Or you could argue and say that they caught a whiff of what's happening and they fled and they're just never coming back. I mean, if you have a Rico case that could be building up to you, that could be connected to you eventually, they didn't even connect Noma. You know, like a random picture, like, who's this girl? We didn't even get that. So they've just been completely under the radar. I don't even know if they're coming back at this point. If there's a Rico thing that's popping off, would you even come back? I don't think so. I don't know. So maybe it's to kill Lauren at this point and then make it go away.
I just want to make a comment. Those are great points. What I will say about the Rico is that what we do know is that I don't know if Tariq would tell this information to Obi or Noma, because they probably wouldn't want to kill him, because then the attention would shift to them as who killed this Tariq St. Patrick kid. So that's why I said it's a tricky situation to determine. But I do agree, she has been missing from the show for far too long. And I know they do this thing where she only shows up when something major happens or some major revelation happens in an episode. Like, because the last time we saw her, that was when they said, oh, yeah, she has a daughter now. But you see, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure she's going to be in one of the next 2 episodes, if not the next 2 episodes. She has to at some point, because there's way too much stuff happening that they need to be monitoring to make sure business is still running smoothly.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with Dana as well. Like, I feel like there's so many storylines still to tie up, to wrap up, that I feel like Noma might actually show up in episode 8 or 9. I don't know, but I feel like either way, the Noma storyline is going to carry on into the next season. I feel like I think she is the new Lobos, and that she's going to be around for a while. I just don't see that story wrapping up in the next 2 episodes, like, because there's so much going on and there's so much that needs to be kind of tied up. So yeah, I feel like Noma and Obi are here to stay for a little while. And yeah, like, I do feel like Noma's got connections. She can shut down this Rico for Tariq. If it gets too real, like, maybe Buckingham Palace will call Julie Sullivan's office or something and be like, oh, we need you to drop the Rico on that black chap. Please drop that Rico. Maybe that will happen. So
I mean, if that is the case, also, then it's the Rico case that they have against them, and it's just a lot of what happens. I'm wondering with the Weston situation, because Ponzi schemes are not local. This is international. So I'm wondering if they can talk to someone, as you were saying, in Buckingham Palace, get those money. They're people. Yeah, I can't do the accent, but get the figure out a way to get the money back to them. I wonder if that could do something. I don't know. I know that Monet was able to easily walk into the grounds and speak to Lucas. So I'm pretty sure Noma has a wee bit more intimidating tactics. Maybe a kidnapping would help, something that's a bit more threatening, something that feels more ominous, because her money is also involved. And the last thing you want, I think, as even if I'm doing my Ponzi schemes, is there certain people you just don't steal from. And that would be the big drug cartel people of the Druglandia. So for me, I think she needs to step up with that as well, because this is how everything directly involves her, but that really, really involves her. And her whole thing was about my money. You're going to give me back my money. So she needs her money. So figure this out, do something. To me, it's just like they've done nothing. And that to me is so frustrating with everything. You come in here with such big, bad presence, and then you just disappear. And it's like, your character needs to mean something in order to stay on the show. And just throwing pictures of, here's grandma and here's Effie or whomever it was, that's cute. What else you got? Like, do something meaningful. And if you have all these pictures, then you have already done the background information of everything that's been involved. Intimidate someone. I just want them to prove to me why these characters are on the show aside from just setting up things. Like, that's just me in general. I need you to mean something to me aside from setting up. We need you right now. And they disappeared when we need them the most. This Superman would never do this because we need Superman and he would come. So be a captain, save a hoe. Save somebody.
I agree. Now, here's a question for you both. As far as the season finale episode in Noma, whether or not she will be involved in the next 2 episodes, how would y'all feel if there is an encounter between Noma and Monet, and it's at the very end of the episode, left as a cliffhanger for you to wonder what's going to happen next season? Would you be excited for that, or will you be disappointed if that was the direction that they decide to go?
Wait, say it again, Rich. Say it one more time.
So I'm saying if in the season finale, at the very end of the episode, they have a confrontation between Monet and Noma. Maybe it's like some violent confrontation, and then something happens, and then it just cuts, and then that's they leave it on a cliffhanger. Now, would you as a viewer be satisfied with that ending, or would you be disappointed and be like, oh, I got to wait now until whenever this writer's strike is over and they're able to continue writing episodes, that now I'm able to watch the show now? How would y'all feel if that was the case?
You want to go first, Dana?
I can't say what I would physically do because I'm pretty sure that's illegal. But I will say this. I would be very disappointed. There will be a hour-long rant about this show because this is so corny. I hate cliffhangers like it. It feels soap opera-y. You know what I mean? And to me, it felt like you threw away the episode. And that to me would be something that you would do during a writer's strike. And from my understanding, the episodes are already written. So be smart. I would hate that. It's cheap. It's corny. It's something that, you would think of when you're like 10 years old writing a story. Oh, and it's going to shock the audience, mommy. No, don't do that. I know everyone wants this big Monet, Noma situation showdown. I don't even know if they're going to deliver us that. Forget a hit cliffhanger. I don't even know if they're going to deliver us that. I mean, we expected a lot more when it came to Saxe, and you saw how he went out. So that gives me nightmares, a cliffhanger. But here's the thing. I would rather them have to team up because they have this Rico case against them because of the whole Ponzi scheme. You can hate each other, but it's a necessary evil. Give me what they gave me during the How to Get Away with Murder scandal crossover. Everybody thought they was going to be chummy. They hated each other with a passion. They could not stand each other. They read each other to filth, but they needed each other in order to do the case. So that's what I want. I can't stand you mama hoe, arguing, maybe some fighting. Obi has to get in between them, but they have to work together in order to get to this case. And then later on, we can try to kill each other. That to me would be more beneficial as opposed to a cliffhanger. If you're going to introduce these characters, I need a scene. I need a conversation. I need something. Even if Noma walks into the house and with Monet just sitting at the kitchen randomly. And then they talk out the whole situation of what's going on, and they're very angry at each other. She got her family involved in this situation. And then from Noma's standpoint, you was with my fiance. And why is your raggedy kids sitting up there in my fiance's home, the penthouse? What happened to the penthouse? Because I don't think anyone else returned back to the penthouse. Let's take that. I don't know. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, give me that, and then we can have a showdown later. But do not ever give me a cliffhanger. That is just ridiculous, especially for a finale. No.
Yeah. So with what you described, Richard, as that cliffhanger, I would be disappointed as well because mainly because this Tariq is supposed to be the main character in this show, so whatever the ending is, it has to be something that revolves around this character in particular. Now, it's quite obvious that it's a harder family is they're kind of the main attraction in this show. To be honest with you, like they are the most interesting thing in the show. People say that Kane could be the main character, so I understand why a Tejada scene could be the cliffhanger or whatever, but I feel like that is a problem if it is the case because Tariq is supposed to be the root of this, so you should try to instead end on a cliffhanger that directly impacts or involves Tariq. I think so that's my thing.
I agree. And that's why I'm going to stick to the prediction that Tariq kills Lauren and have the season end that way. That'll be a fantastic way to end the season.
That would be powerful. That would be a powerful ending for sure. But yeah. So before I get in trouble, let's get to final thoughts now, and we can each go around and give our final thoughts. Anything that we didn't touch on so far. So I'll go first, I guess. Let me see. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, no. Sorry, I'm just going through my notes here. I kind of already said it, but yeah, my thing was gonna be I don't feel like Effie is gonna snitch. I think she's gonna stand tall. I don't think she's gonna, say anything that will put them in a worse state. Throughout the series, she's kind of shown that she does have street smarts and stuff. And although she kind of has kept secrets from Tariq and stuff, and she has shown like an independent streak, I don't feel like she is in her character to kind of snitch to reduce her own case or anything like that, her own verdict and sentencing and stuff. So I feel like she's gonna stand tall and not snitch. I mean, you see, this is the same person who didn't want to accept, money from Kane for her tuition and stuff. So I feel like she's not going to talk. I am curious if Davis McLean is going to represent her, because yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if she'll want to be represented by him because she knows that Tariq is close with him. But yeah, I then wonder if they would bring in some new kind of lawyer or something of that nature to represent her if that's the case. But yeah, I don't like I'm sticking. My prediction is that Effie is not going to snitch. I don't think she's going to snitch, even though the actress on Twitter said something along the lines of, no matter what happens, don't hate me or whatever. Like she says something like that on Twitter. I don't think this is going to be what she does. I don't think she's going out like a snitch. So that's my final thought. How about you, Dana? Any final thoughts? It could be anything.
Okay, so what's interesting also, we didn't bring up Kiki. Kiki is one of the people who knows about obviously what's going on, and she's checking in on Brayden to make sure Brayden doesn't do anything crazy. I think everyone's acting out of fear within this situation. I wonder what happens to Kiki just overall, if the Ponzi scheme, because we know people do know about the Ponzi scheme, and because of that twist, soon the government will know about the Ponzi scheme. So I do wonder what's going to happen to Kiki in regards to that situation. Also, I feel that we didn't talk about the donor list that Tate has. The reason why they broke up is because it's full of crooks. I wonder if Tate is going to be able to use that to his leverage, because he lost his money. He didn't lose his money. He knows he's the one who found out what happened with the whole Ponzi scheme situation. And so I wonder how he's going to use that to his leverage, or more importantly, how they're going to use that to their leverage. Because here's the thing, when you're donating to a politician, and especially when you are donating a lot and you are of higher means and power and recognition, it's pay for play. So I wonder how Tate is now going to be involved with this Ponzi scheme, in terms of, is he going to make sure certain people are okay? I don't know whether or not that involves the Westons, because Lucas gave him the money. So I wonder if he's going to now be working for Weston. You know what I mean? Because they paid him a lot. You paid a congressperson or a soon-to-be congressperson for leverage. That's the whole reason why a majority of those billionaires and millionaires donate. It's for power. It's all pay for play. So I wonder, what would Tate have to sacrifice? Ooh, you see how I did that? Now that he accepted the money, because remember, the girl told him, it's not right. They're it's immoral. So I wonder how that's going to come back to him, and what he's going to have to do, and whether or not this will cost him the race, because Ponzi scheme, people don't like that. Look what happened with Bernie Madoff. Nobody liked that. So that's another thing there that's interesting. Then the campaign donation, he might lose the whole campaign because of this, or he could win. We never know. So another thing also that I wanted to mention was the fact that, that seems to be cut and dry. I wonder if whether or not, we already talked about Drew and how, what's that going to lead, what that could lead to his possible death or demise. I wonder what's next in terms of Drew. I mean, he's spiraling, he's losing his control. The family is basically seeing him spiral even more, and now he basically said, I murdered that guy. Unless you know what's really going on, with the family, they know that he's basically dead. So I wonder what's next for Drew. He's all the way at the bottom. Is he going to continue to steep even lower? I know I said that it would be best if he would die, because I don't know if he can redeem himself right now. What exactly can he do to redeem himself, not just as a person, but within the family? And the fact that there could be an impending war happen, or an investigation, because again, where's the body? I don't know where Gordo's body is. So who's to say if they was to find the body, and then as the police person, and this has gone viral, so that looks like circumstantial evidence to me, maybe. So is now the police involved? Are you going to go to jail? I want to know what's going to happen with his case. So that just seems to be like the major ones right there. I just want some answers on. And now that Saxe is dead, I already stated that Grandma clearly would just know the location. But here's the issue, and this goes back to season 1. Saxe has dirt on everyone, and he knew that he could die, which is why he made those calls, the call to Tariq, right? Basically saying, I know where Grandma and everyone else is. So if you think you're going to die and you have information, and he's also, remember, he's went after Ghost and he's always been after Tariq, would you find a way to reveal everything in order for you to get the last ha-ha out of this? Yo, you killed me, but I know things that you've been hiding in secret that I could easily go to the police to. So I wonder if Saxe, because of the paranoia that he was when he called Tariq and he knows he was going to die, I wonder if there's more leverage than, I know your location of grandma and the rest of the family. What else could be up his sleeve? Because if you looked at, for example, when Ghost died, okay, he's dead, but remember what happened at the end? How he still had a chokehold on everyone, including Tariq? You have to go to school and graduate in order to get the money. So I wonder if Saxe is that smart, because he's playing in a very dangerous game. From the very beginning, he's been shady. So does he have preparation plans for that? So I don't know how that's going to happen, but I hope that it's not like a boom, he's gone situation, because he played such a vital role in the Power series that I hope that they would have a better way to end his death.
Oh, you want the Saxe legacy to continue? Okay.
Here's
I
the
hear
thing,
that.
because he's such a vital. I'm legit sad that he's gone. I get it, but I'm sad. But I just want you to have you got taken out by basically Pookie. Random Pookie that just happened to have a connection to David. So it was a bit more, connected than, say, when Omar died. But you got taken out by the dude's random brother that you lied for. And that's another thing. Remember, the thing that Davis was really worried about was the fact that Saxe lied to get him out, so therefore he has all the power. So I wonder if he could say something or reveal how the brother got out. Obviously, he didn't think that the brother would kill himself, but he could have information on Davis as well. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, because Davis said that line of, oh, he was the one who got the brother out, so he it could be a blowback for him. I wonder if we're going to get that back of blow. I would appreciate that. Because you can't have a character who's technically so powerful, who knew everyone's secrets, and then just have him die. Something has to happen for me. So I'm wondering what happens then with Davis McLean and that situation. Because it's not like, oh, now my brother is dead, he killed Saxe. My brother got out of parole because we bribed a judge. And the judge is shady. If there's an invest, because again, Jen, when she's full, remember, he said, you're full of ambition, but you're going to die alone. So all that ambition, she's going to figure out the judge and then Theo, and then she could come after the judge, and that's charges right there. The judge, he'll easily squeal. So it could blow back on Davis. Even though Saxe said, oh, I'll take control of this. He's Davis's brother, who's a lawyer. So it's easy to make that connection. So give me something.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll there's gonna be some blowback or some aftermath to Saxe's death for sure, I think. And like you said, I do believe he probably had some plans, or some kind of backup, because he did know a lot of secrets. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But Richard, did you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Oh no, I think you both said a lot of things that I agree with. We just have to wait and see what happens. I did enjoy this episode, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what happens. However, I do believe that there is a break coming up, so I don't know if we're going to get an episode for sure next week. Stars has to always take at least a 1 week break, so we'll see. But in any event, I can't wait to see what happens in the next episode.
Yeah, same here. Things are really heating up, and I think it's only going to get better from here. So I cannot wait to see what's next in this series. But yeah, this was a great episode. Great ending and everything. Can't wait to see what the people think. So please do leave your comments. Let us know what you thought of this episode. And yeah, there may be a break next week. So if there is, we'll be back the following week with the episode 9 recap. So yeah, be mindful of that. But until then, that is going to be it for us today. So everybody take care of yourselves. Have a good week, or maybe 2 weeks, depending on when we see you again. But yeah, everyone stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Peace out, everyone.